No, I appreciate you taking the time to meet me today. I suppose I have some questions that might be of interest to young professionals like myself. A couple of people who are maybe doing this on the side and definitely think about going full time, or someone like myself who's just made it their full time gig. So there's probably going to be a couple of dumb questions, but they're definitely interesting to myself. So I suppose I'll start off. There's definitely some questions I've heard you answer before, but maybe it's good to keep them all in one place.
Yeah.
So my first question is how did you know it was the right time to move into audio with your own business? And how did you go about that?
With regards to my own business, you know what? I don't think you'll ever know it's the right time, because I've done, I've done prior to Audio Animals, I did two other businesses, both very similar things, and they didn't go so well because it wasn't the right time for me. And I say it wasn't the right time for me because I was still wanting to go out. If someone asked me when I was 21 doing, I think I was about 19, 21, something around that time. If someone asked me back then to do 18-hour a day, I'd have gone, no, you got no chance. I want to play my computer. I want to go out. I want to, I want to get down the pub.
Yeah.
I want to do what other 19 and 21-year-olds are doing. The last thing I wanted to do was work. And I think when you're that age, you don't want to just do work. But now that's all I want to do. I mean, I obviously want to spend time with my family, do all my family stuff, but it is just, as soon as the kids go to bed, as soon as the missus goes off into the bedroom, watches EastEnders or whatever, I'm bang on the laptop, work. Because, so I don't think there is really a right time, because obviously everybody's different, but there's a time that it will work and there's a time when it won't work. But it's trying to work that out. What I would say is you've got to be kind of 100% wanting the business to succeed. Otherwise, it's very difficult for it to succeed if you aren't 100% going for it. So I don't really know if there's a right time. I tell you one thing with regards to there is a right time is it's very hard to start a business when you've got a family and you've got loads and loads of people depending on you. For instance, if you've got a mortgage, for instance, it's very hard to start an audio business because you have to make, let's say for instance, you've got to make $2,000 every month. Has to be made in order for you to pay your mortgage, pay the bills, pay everything, right? If you're going into an audio business having to make that from day one, it's going to be very hard because you're not necessarily going to make that from day one. Whereas if you didn't have all these expenses, so say for instance you were living at home with your parents, things like that, and you didn't have any mortgage, rent to pay, expenses, you could literally go, well, I don't even need to make that much money right from the get-go. I just need to make enough to get by. Everything on top of that gets reinvested into the business. And that way you can really... I'll tell you what I did in that regards is what I did was when I started this business, learning from the other businesses when I did those, what didn't work was I saved up a lot of money. I saved up basically just over a year's wages of what I would need to get by. I saved that up. I had that in the bank so that I didn't have to make X amount of money on day one. So I could spend a year and not make nothing. And if it failed at the end of the year, I had a great time doing it. But if I got to the end of the year,
if I get covering your rent and things like that,
yeah, it's kind of safeguarding you. I guess it's just it's a safety net so that you don't have to. Because the thing with it is as well is if you don't have to pull money out of the business, everything that you make can go straight back into it, and that will speed your process up so much quicker, because you've got more money you can put into advertising, you've got more money you can put into buying equipment, and you've got more money just to pump into your business without having an investor pumping money in, taking part of your business from you. So that's what I did, and I found that as a very, very good approach. Obviously, saving up a big chunk of money is a hard task to do for anyone, but I would advise doing that. That's a good way of doing it.
Yeah, safer landing. It's also interesting what you said. It's something you also have to be ready, I suppose, to work hard. So you have to be in that mindset. You know, I suppose, like, for people like myself who are doing it on the side, we're so used to working hard because we have to do our regular job anyway. But we're so obsessed with audio that every moment we have is to go into that. So
you say that.
I definitely feel like for myself, when I went into full time, I was probably ready to work the hardest in my life I've ever done. You know.
I'll tell you one thing. Going off of that, what you're saying there is you're working your, let's say, part time, and then you're doing your music as well as a kind of in your spare time. I always say the lovely thing about when you do go and do you turn that hobby into a business is, this is what I'd do if it was Bank Holiday Monday, for instance. I had a day off work, I'd want to be here, kind of thing. This is what I do on my time off. So
that's exactly it. Yeah.
it's a really nice situation to be in, that any time that I have free, this is where I want to be. So that's the one thing that's highly rewarding from running like any sort of audio business, or running any business where you're doing what you love and enjoy. And that's why you work 18 hours. That's why you'll happily stay up for 3 days meeting a deadline, because you love what you're doing. You don't mind doing that. But if you had a boss who's saying that, you know, if you were working, let's say, in a coffee shop, for instance, and your boss is telling you, right, I need you to do double shift, I need you to do 18 hours this week, this today, and you know, you're going to turn around to him and go, nah, because you don't love it. You're not, you know, some people might want to do it, but you know, the majority of people are going to be like, nah, this is just to make a little bit of money. I'm not doing. You know, if the boss wants to do 18 hours, then the boss will do 18 hours. But I mean,
did you think that you worked harder at the start, or have you just kept that pace? Did it ever let up, or did you feel, at the start you felt like you worked the hardest, or have you kind of always been hitting the 110% or so?
I worked really long hours at the start, because that was what was required. Now, what I always say is that I put in the effort now. I put in the big kind of the long hours. I put in all this time in now to reap the rewards later on. You know, I'm getting to the point now where there physically isn't much more equipment I can buy. Yeah,
I know. I've seen the videos.
You know, I've got another studio that's going in, and it's like it's incredible, this studio and the equipment that's going into it. And there's unless I buy another studio, I don't know how much more I can actually put into these studios. So there'll come a point for me where I'll make X amount in the business, and I'll take pretty much 90% of it out, and I'll be able to reap that reward from creating this business. At the moment, it's more a case of, for me, it's basically I take what I need and then push everything else back into the business. But do I work? When did I work? I mean, I work hard non-stop throughout the past 10 years. But yeah, I would say that the beginning of it was when, I tell you what I used to do in the first 3 years. This is how me and Nick used to work. We used to pretty much it's going to sound mental, but this is how a business kind of can be fast tracked as such. We pretty much worked 8 hours, let's say, and then fell asleep on the floor. And then when I kind of woke up, like a couple of hours sleep, then done another 8 hours, and it was kind of like 8 hours, 2 hours kip, 8 hours, 2 hours kip, and it didn't matter what time of day it was just this constant cycle. Because when people think of like a mixing and mastering business, for instance, they think of the only aspect of it being the mixing and mastering, but there's all the admin, there's web development, there's building a website, there's marketing, there's all these different aspects of it that, you know, the mixing and mastering is maybe 50% of what I actually do throughout a day. And then the other 50% is all the other stuff, these videos, all these different things that ultimately bring in the clients. And without those, if I just did the mixing and mastering just on its own, with none of the other stuff, none of the marketing, none of anything else, I'd soon not have any mixing and mastering. You know, there's only so much that talks for itself, and that generates its own, you know, repeat custom and all things like that. There's the other 50% of it, which is actually doing all these sorts of things, and doing you know, all the online articles, and having a website, and making sure that adverts are bringing in the right people and things like that. So it's a big job, all this. It's a fun job, though,
to make
believe
it work.
me.
To make it work well, which is what you're doing, you know.
Yeah.
You know that where the benchmark is.
That's it.
I've got another question for you, just regarding the business and things. It's like, how did you originally structure your pricing as a new professional on audio animals around 2012?
Structuring it was difficult, because the thing is when you first start out, you can't, like, for instance, someone just kind of was like, right, I'm going to have a mastering studio, and I'm going to build this mastering studio. I've got a mastering studio, for instance, and right, I'm going to charge the same price as these guys are charging. Right, okay. But then the question is why would they go to you when there's already someone that's been established for 10 years? If you've both got the price, you both got the same price. Like, let's say it's very hard for someone to kind of compete with like the studio that I've got, for instance. And they almost would have to go in lower to win the work, kind of thing, and that be the factor. And then what I did was, and we're still in the process of doing it, is basically what I did was created a service that people could afford, and then as we get busier and busier, the price just gradually increases. You know, I think we had in it was early 2012, I think it was, we were charging £10 a track at one point for a couple of months, and it was just to bring people in. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, just because you kind of, at £10 a track, you kind of just say you know, that's a bit too cheap. But we had a very a kind of a community where we could kind of go, right, for £10 we'll do your track. And then when we gradually stepped the pricing up, they were still clients of ours, and they were more than happy to spend £30, £40 for the mastering. And it's a gradual thing, and we're well overdue a price increase on the mastering. But we like, the thing for us is we like working with people from all demographics and all over the world. You know, there's people like the thing for us is, when it comes to the structure of the how much things cost, is we always create something that's affordable. So we have an affordable version of it, which is no different necessarily from you know, it's the full quality. There's no like cutting corners or anything like that. But by having just one that's affordable, and then having lots of little add-ons that you can add on, so the affordable one is just what is the kind of brunt of it. It's the mastering with a 5 working day turnaround, and that's it. If you want to add an instrumental, you add another £10. some people don't want all the little add-ons that you get with other services. They just want the master turned around in a reasonable time. If you want it in one working day, you get it, pay £20 more, you get it in one working day. So you can price it up. So I think the max you can price it up to is like, for one master, is like 270 quid once you add the Dolby Atmos mastering on. And lots of people do order everything, and they do add all these different things on. But for me, it's essential for me to have this affordable version that is just the brunt of it. That is what you actually need, and then everything else is an add-on.
There's an interesting bit of advice there, what you said, and it links back to something you said earlier, is that if you have some security, you can charge lower as well, because then you can use it, which is better for the business. You can get as many people in and over deliver. Yeah. Because you've got that security, and then they're going to come back, and then you can stage it up.
The thing is, as well, in regards to that, is where you love what you're doing as well. You don't mind working for relatively cheap. You know what I mean? Because it's really fun doing what you're doing. And the reason as well that we went in so low when we first ever started, and this was only for a couple of months, and it was just literally to bring in a client base, because when we started the business, what we didn't have was any sort of client base. We didn't have any client list. Yeah. So we didn't have anything where we could say, oh, we've done this, we've worked on this. Whereas now, 10 years down the line, we've got a client list that's ridiculous, and it sells itself. But back then, we didn't have any of that. So we had to build that up. And the only way to build that up was to kind of offer a very, very, very affordable service, and just work 4 times as hard as we would have to.
Fair. I have another question. You may have answered it, but is there any advice you can give new freelancers on how to build confidence around their rates? Example would be like, should they take any gig that comes in the door, or should they be comfortable letting gigs that are not fairly priced for the time invested go?
It's a tricky one.
Yeah.
Because if you don't pick up the gig, I certainly will.
Well, there we go. That's the advice for everyone who's watching. So
because yeah, I mean it is a very tricky question, that, because you don't want to devalue yourself, and you don't want to pick up stuff that's not worth doing, and there are things. I did a podcast last week that I posted, and I was talking about when we did the mixing and mastering on the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Yeah. Now, we were asked to do that, and there was no budget for us to do it, because they were taking a kind, and this was back in 2012, so this was a long time ago. And we hadn't done any sort of big Hollywood movie before. So when people were saying, like, they come to us and was like, yeah, can you mix and master this? And we was like, yeah. They said to us that there's no budget. And we was like, and that was us kind of, we had a situation there where we could have gone, no, we're not doing it. We're not doing it for free. And try and play hardball. And we wouldn't have got the job because the budget wasn't there. It just wasn't there for that, because what they were doing was basically taking a long shot on us. They basically went to a composer, then the composer come to us. The composer didn't get anything because Sony Pictures were taking a long shot on him, and then ultimately he was then come to us. I'm working on this massive project for Spider-Man. Can you do it? There's no budget. Please, can you do it? And we had to sit down and kind of say, right, okay, is this going to materialize into what this guy's saying it is? And we had to take kind of a punt on it, and we did. And thankfully, it turned out that it was all came true, and it ended up that we did do the mixing and mastering on Spider-Man. But what I will say there is that even though we didn't get paid for that, we got paid for it, because a week later we got X-Men Days of Future Past. That was a week later.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Off of the back of X-Men, we got X-Men Apocalypse. So there's, you know, it's a knock-on effect. And then I know now that I can quite honestly say now that we wouldn't have done hundreds of Hollywood movies had it not been for that first one, because the thing with working in Hollywood is when you've got these films obviously have massive budgets. It doesn't matter how much it costs, it just needs to be the best it possibly can. It doesn't necessarily matter. So when it's very difficult to get that first one, because if someone's looking at you as a mixing and mastering studio, for instance, they're looking at you and going, well, they haven't done any films yet. So getting that first one is so hard. But then once you get a couple, then it's like, oh, well, they've done that. Okay, they're cool. They can do this, you know. So had I not taken that job on, things might be very, very different.
That's good. So you're saying also is that if you see a big logo that you have a chance to work with, it's worth taking it on the chin.
Yeah, I'll tell you what as well. Yeah. I've done a lot of work for free. And it's basically not so much now, but way back 2012, 2013, 2014, when we were kind of building the business, establishing the business. And that was because it was basically, if, for instance, it was a big name, if it was a big name and it was like, right, well, we'll do the mastering and we won't charge you. But what we get out of that deal is, we've done the mastering, fine. It took, a couple of hours of our time. But in exchange, we've now got this huge client on our client list because, it's a two-way street. It's not like we're doing it for free and then we're not getting anything out of it. We're always getting something out of it.
And you love the project.
Right? Exactly.
You
well, yeah.
On the movie.
Well, there is, there's that sort of stuff. Yeah. I mean, ideally, you always get paid for yourself, but it's that cliche thing of getting paid in exposure. Yeah, you can get paid in exposure. It's just how you utilize the exposure that you got as to whether you get any extra work out of that exposure. I hear it all the time with DJs. They say, I don't want to get paid in exposure for this DJ set. Well, if you've gone and done that DJ set and you've kind of then got the exposure and few people have seen you and then booked you off of the back of that, then it's well worth it. It's really worthwhile. The fact is if you're getting all that exposure and not getting anything out of it, either A, you're not good enough to get anything out of it, and the reason you've got not getting anything out of it is just generally because you're not good enough at what you're doing, or it's that you're not utilizing the exposure well enough, like by talking about it, by letting everybody know that you did XYZ. I mean, the reason why we got X-Men a week after, I'm quite confident it is because of this, was because we let everybody know that we did Spider-Man, and we posted it out, we put it on the website and all that sort of stuff. And then, a week later, it's not a coincidence, is it? You don't just get X-Men out of the blue, do you?
No, something similar happened to myself, where it's just this month I got like a video game soundtrack, which is my biggest project that I've worked on. And I just chatted to them randomly and I offered to do it for free. And from that, I've managed to do outreach to other people. And then I've got other composers and stuff who have now opened up. Well, it wasn't there at all before.
That's it.
So I definitely see the importance of definitely taking it on the chin and giving it your all, because you can use it yourself with outreach and things like that,
Yeah. So it's if as long as if you do, say for instance you've done a computer game, as long as you can then advertise that you've done that computer game, even just doing the mastering of computer game, for instance, you've then massively benefited from doing that without, that's worth, what you've done there is worth £100, for instance. Let's say £100 for the mastering that you've all done. It's worth that, having that credit on your list and having that ability to advertise that you've done that and show you as an established mastering engineer. That in itself is worth more than £100.
True.
Especially at the start of the game, you know what I mean?
So the question is, do you have any advice on managing taxes for new freelancers and studios in the UK without an accountant? I suppose the reframe would be, what exactly do we need to pay regarding VAT or income tax?
Right. The thing for me is I've got an accountant who does all of this sort of stuff, and we sit down every now and then and we go through things, but like, you know, he deals with everything. You shouldn't have to pay VAT, so you don't have to pay VAT in the UK until you hit, I think it's 80,000. As soon as you hit 80,000, as soon as you hit that 80,000 threshold, you then start having to charge your clients VAT. If you can stay below that threshold for as long as possible, the better. Obviously, you know, it's great to earn £80,000 plus, but for as long as you can sit underneath that £80,000 threshold, it's better because you don't have to charge your clients VAT. Whereas we're in a situation where we do have to charge VAT, which reflects on the price. But you know, the majority of people claim that back at the end of the year and things like that. So yeah, I mean, we spoke briefly about all of this before over Instagram, and it's a tricky one to talk on because I'm not 100% clued up on it, because I've got someone that does it, and that's why I've got someone that does it for me.
Do you have any advice for young studio owners attempting to get a mortgage down the line? Did you find it difficult earning the bank's confidence in your business?
Yes.
Yeah, because that's what I'm thinking for myself. You know, obviously it's not going to happen this year, but that's something I want to look at down the line. And being a new business owner, you know, I'm used to earning a salary for most of my life, and now I have to think about that, you know?
Yeah. It's, they see it, because the problem with our industry is that any potential kind of mortgage lender, bank or anything, even if you're going to get a loan, for instance, when you have to select what your job is, it's musician. That's the and
to the back of the pile.
And it's like, you know what I mean? So they don't have audio engineer with X amount of years of experience with a fully established business and blah, blah. You know, they don't have that, but that kind of thing to select. They have musician, pretty much, and you know, that's from a let's say, you know, the bank's point of view is they look at it and they go, musician, no, kind of thing, and that's just, you know, you can put it down as different things. I mean, I always go with online services, basically, is so it's and then you'll get accepted, because online services are making more money than retail in on the high street quite easily,
and it's a product as well, you know, so you can just position it that way.
So there is that, but they do look at you, any sort of things like that, they will look at you as kind of a musician if you say it's music related. So maybe just don't go down the route of saying music, just kind of broaden it out to online services, or I wouldn't even say audio services, kind of like I don't know, there's loads of different kind of categories you can put yourself in.
That's good advice though. I suppose, do you think setting up a separate bank account for the business even earlier on is a good idea, like just a Revolut? So by the time you go talk to the bank, they're not going to be going through everything that's coming into my account. I have to have weird conversations, but if I just have a separate account from the start, that's probably easier.
Definitely have a separate account, whether it's a business account or not. It can for the first few years, for instance, it could quite easily be a kind of a current account, a normal account. Whereas when you go a bit further, what you're going to benefit from with a business account is if you want to go get a business loan, if you want business advice, all these sorts of things come into play with a business account. Getting a really high extended overdraft, whereas a personal overdraft, £500 to £4,000 kind of thing, whereas a business overdraft, £200,000 kind of thing, just for argument's sake. Try never to go into your own, use if you do get an overdraft on a business account, use the overdraft, and this is just, this is my personal opinion on it. Use the overdraft as it's there if you need it. Don't ever think of it as your money, because as soon as you start dipping into it and you start getting into the thought process that that's your money, that's never your money. That's the bank's money, and they want you to spend it. Because they can charge you interest. And it's a good amount of interest as well. But especially if for instance you're racking up 20-30 grand, it's a lot easier to get a loan, let's say on for 20-30 grand on at like 2% or something, 3%, which works out peanuts really over the course of a year. In terms of, I always think of it in the sense that, let's say for argument's sake, you was to get a 10 grand loan to buy, or say 50 grand loan to buy a really nice studio, and you had to pay back 5 grand on top. But the 5 grand that you have to pay in the interest on top, you wouldn't have earned the 50 grand to pay it back had it not been for the studio.
Okay, yeah.
So you weigh it up like that. The other one to look at as well is a PayPal working capital. They're really good. You ever looked into that? So
what's that?
PayPal working capital works. So you build PayPal into your website. So you've got PayPal on your website. Your website will then take payments through PayPal. So your clients can pay you through PayPal. What then happens is you can, let's say after a year, you've put into your PayPal account over the course of a year 50,000, for argument's sake. PayPal will look at that and go, oh, okay, we'll give you a working capital loan. So we'll give you what would be 30% of that, which is about, let's say 15,000. They'll give you 15,000. Now, what they'll do then is, for every payment that you receive through your website, they automatically will take 30% of it to pay back the loan. So it's, you only pay it back as you earn.
Okay. So they're obviously more confident to give it to you because they're seeing traction,
basically,
how many sales you're making.
So, but the good thing about that, and the way that is good, is if, let's say for argument's sake, you've got the agreement where it's 30% of everything you earn through PayPal. You make £1,000 through PayPal 1 month, you only pay back £300. You make £10,000 the next month, you pay back £3,000. Yeah. So it's based on how much you earn. So as much as you earn through PayPal, that's the 30% is how much, and you can scale it down to like 10% if you only want to pay back 10%. It's a really good way to get kind of a cash injection into your business to buy equipment or build a studio, for instance. And then just pay it back as and when you get the money in.
That's a really good tip that I will use.
It's worth doing. They might not give it to you. I don't think they'll give it to you straight away. But if you've got PayPal built into your website, and they see you earning lots of money through PayPal, they will happily give you. I think it works out about 30% of what they see you take. Yeah. But potentially, I mean, you could get a 50 grand loan off of them and then pay it back over the course of a year, with just 30% every time you make money. If you don't make any money that month, then you don't pay anything back.
That's good. But definitely putting the PayPal link up on the website is a good way to kind of start that or approach that.
PayPal, you want to have on your website, you want to have the ability to pay with PayPal, and you want to have the ability to pay with card payments. You can pay with card payments through PayPal, but some people, majority of people don't. I'll tell you what, it's about 50-50. When we take payments, we take probably 50%. Probably about 40%. 40% come through PayPal, 60% come through like card payments. We use WorldPay to do to manage all our payments. Because the thing with WorldPay is WorldPay's worldwide, and everybody's familiar with WorldPay.
Fair. Just on that topic, this is kind of a cheeky question. Maybe it's a dumb one. If I run a business, can I get equipment for cheaper due to VAT trickery or magic?
Well, you can get, if you run a business, you can get VAT off of your equipment. So, for argument's sake, if I spend £10,000 on a compressor, I only have to pay, I think it's like 8,000 or something, about £8,000 for the compressor once I get the VAT back. But you have to pay the full 10,000 up front.
Okay.
You then 3 months down the line get your VAT back. So then you apply to get your VAT back. And then you get the $2,000 back into your account. So it's not like you have to pay it, but you get it back. It's like a cashback type thing. That you can only do once you're VAT registered. So one piece of advice I would recommend in regards to that is, if you're looking at doing a massive scale up of your business in terms of building, like for us, we built this studio and we built that studio. We waited until we were VAT registered before we did that, because, for instance, if you're building, let's say this studio, 100,000, you get $20,000 back. You know what I mean? That's a big amount of money to get back. So it takes 20% off of the cost of the studio. The other ways to get savings, I'll tell you what, as well, is the kind of, the bigger you get as a business, and the more you're seen as a, let's say, influencer.
Yeah.
You get equipment not for free, but you get it cheaper, because it's like companies don't mind giving you something for a discounted price if you're saying it's good. And I always say, I don't have rubbish gear here. I have everything that I have. I actually said it in a comment on Instagram earlier today. I said, if I've got it in my studio, it's good. Because I wouldn't keep anything that wasn't good. So I generally don't review equipment that isn't good, because I don't want that. But you can. It's certain gear. It's like, I won't mention what company it was, but I basically I can't. I'm trying to say it without giving away.
You're still pointing.
So I bought a piece of equipment. There's a plug-in version of it, and I contacted the company and said, look, I've bought the hardware. Can I have the software? And they went, yeah, of course. Because I've got the hardware. I've spent. I was nearly going to say how much it was then, and that would have given away exactly what it was. I spent X amount of money on what it is. I spent X amount on the equipment. So can I have this plugin? I said to him, basically, I don't want to buy the plugin, so I'll never use it, but I want to use it for A/B comparisons and things like that. So
which you're known for as well, like you do all those videos.
Exactly.
So they see that. So going off that, I actually have another question. If you're not an influencer, do you have any advice on building relationships with companies that sell gear so you can test out equipment before you buy? Because I've never done that, and I know people like you on YouTube do it often. Yeah. But I don't see that on the website, so I imagine there's obviously some sort of roadblock that you maybe need to get over or to prove yourself.
Yeah, it is a case of proving yourself, because if you're just a guy that goes to an equipment supplier and says to them, "Oh, can you send me this, and this? I want to buy one of them. Can you send me all three?" They go, "Can't you just decide which one you want and we'll send you that one," kind of thing. They don't want to send out 3 pieces of equipment for you to choose one. And then you might not even choose one, kind of thing. Whereas I've got a kind of a proven track record with the people I buy equipment from, where I spend so much money with them that they're more than happy to bring stuff down to me. I mean, it's not even a case of they don't send it to me. They physically walk it in the door to me and give it to me, and then they head off to wherever else they're going to. That comes down to building a relationship with the people who are supplying you equipment. And I've worked with loads of different people who supply equipment, and you don't always build a relationship with them people. But my supplier now, I'll happily tell you who it is, SX Pro. They supply me with all of the equipment that I need, and they're brilliant, because it's a relationship of they know that I'm going to buy the equipment, kind of thing, so they'll happily bring it down. But that's not always going to be the case for everybody, because I've spent X amount of money with them already. I've built this whole studio's kitted out by them. The studio that we've got is kitted out by them. So it's, I guess it is, yes, a little bit in the way of it comes down to a little bit of trust and stuff like that. But to kind of, it's very difficult to get equipment to do reviews. There's like a demo unit, for instance, that will be going around London, and they will contact you and say, there's this unit going around. Do you want us to bring it through to you? You can test it out, see if you like it, kind of thing. That I've had a few times. The other one is, I guess, people where I talk a lot about certain products, they kind of contact you and sometimes and say, "Look, we've got a new product that's coming out. Love to hear what you think of it before it releases," type of thing. And they'll bring it to you, test it out, and you can give some feedback on it, what you like, what not. So there's always a if let's be honest here, if I had 1 million YouTube subscribers, I'd have gear coming out my ears, because everybody would want me to have it. Well, yeah, but for free, or like just kind of brought to me to, because they know it's worthwhile. Let's say you'd even get a lot of the stuff for free in some cases, because it's from a business perspective, it's very worthwhile for them to give you something and for you to do a video on it. I'm talking about if you've got like 1 million subscribers, for instance, and that video got, let's say, 500,000 views for a piece of equipment, you're going to make your money back straight away. It's not even, it's a no-brainer, that sort of thing. And that's why influencers, and I'm very much, I'm not, I don't put myself in that category of influencing, although that is technically what I'm doing. But my definition of like an influencer is someone that's tricking the public. I very much think influencers influence the public into buying stuff that they're getting paid to influence them to buy. They're just a marketing tool. Whereas I stand by that, never doing that. That's not what I do. Any product that I am talking about and saying is good is genuinely because I've got them here and they're good.
Yeah. True.
This is good.
But I like that when you do the plugins that you also give the plugins credit. Well, it doesn't come. Oh, lovely.
That is good. I've got 3 of these.
That's the new one you got, isn't it?
These are really good.
Nice.
Yeah, it's just sitting there at the moment. I was testing it in like a mid-side situation because it's such a wrong way to use it. But because I've got 3 of them, I could kind of use 2 of them in like one as mid, one as side when they're stereo units, whereas that would be silly for most people. But just for own curiosity, I got it out to try that.
Nice. I've got another curveball question for you. I suppose, how do you network as an online focused business in the UK music scene in 2023?
Say that one again. How do you network?
Yeah, how do you network as an online focused business
in
the UK music scene?
Do you know what? Just always replying to comments online, always just being approachable. I did this in the video I did before this in this series. This guy he basically contacted me. And he asked, all these different questions, and I said, "Look, let's jump on a video Zoom call, and I'll answer all your questions for you, and I'll hopefully help you out." And he said to me, "I've asked 20, 30 different mastering engineers, not one of them got back to me." And there's me going, "Yeah, I'll answer your questions. Let's jump on a Zoom call and we'll record it, and I'll do a video of it and all this sort of stuff." That's the difference there between other kind of businesses and other engineers in comparison to me. And I know I know without the clients and without the kind of people that kind of come to the website and buy product from us, buy services from us, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. So I'm not bigger than them. So I never ever want to kind of come across as like I would never not take someone's call. I would never not comment to someone back. If you look on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, every single thing that someone asks, there's a reply from me, and it's pretty much straight away. And that's because I've got my phone next to me all the time. And my wife, it does my wife's head in, because she says to me, she said that it can wait. Like, it's a comment on YouTube, and she's like, "It can wait." And I was like, "Nah, it can't wait." And I'll tell you why it can't wait. Because if I don't get back to him now, for instance, in regards to he wants to order mastering services, if I don't get back to him now, he can walk off and go to someone else who will get back to him straight away.
It's absolutely totally true. I had that scenario with the soundtrack that I told you. I just tried to get him on the phone immediately. He said, "You're the first person who actually wanted to get on the phone with me immediately. That's why we're going to go with you."
Yeah.
And then I got more gigs from that. So
exactly.
Yeah. It's definitely good advice.
That's all these different things you'll learn along the way, and the one thing you want to do as you progress through this business is that don't ever get big-headed or too big, or because
like everyone else.
basically, yeah, because stay grounded. Because the one thing I will say in that regard is I remember it was probably 7 years ago. It was about 3 years in, and we had so much work, more than enough. But the problem is we was just like, right, well, let's just turn the adverts off. Why do we need to have the adverts on when we've got all this work? And then what suddenly happened was it went, less and less people were coming, because it was all based on repeat custom. So we started getting less sales. It was like, why are we getting less sales? We're fully, we're fully booked. Why now, the next couple of months, 3 months down the line? And it was all because we basically got a bit too big for our boots, in the sense that we thought, oh, we don't need to advertise anymore. And we turned the adverts off. Then what you have to do is we realised that and put the adverts back on, and then you see it grow back, and it went back to normal, how it was. And that's one thing that I realised, and I've never forgot it because it was so important, was that don't get too big for your boots and think that next week is going to be the same as this week, and you're going to, or a couple of months down the line, you're still going to be fully booked. Because if you stop working hard at bringing in the clients, as soon as you stop working to bring in clients, they stop coming in. It's not a business that just kind of organically grows. You have to put work into getting it to grow.
That's interesting. And do you think for people who are maybe, starting to take their music business seriously in 2023, do you think running ads early on is a good idea, or should they, maybe leave that for a bit of time? Because I know you have to put a bit of money into ads and things like that. This
is the thing with ads. If you're willing to spend lots and lots of money every day, and your ads will just your business will grow. The more money you put into ads, the bigger your business grows. That's just common sense. If you're planning on just putting £5, £10 per day, it's going to be very slow. It's not going to do much. Yeah, which was look. Trust me. When I remember when we first started, we were paying £5 a day to Facebook, and I think we were doing about £5. Yeah, about £5 a day on Google Ads, and that was what's that? About £300. £300 a month, which isn't a lot. But now, we're probably spending, I don't know, £70 on Facebook, £50 on Google Ads, which in the grand scheme of other businesses in other sectors, that isn't a massive amount of money. Like, someone like Coca-Cola, they're spending 10,000 per day kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, it does, the amount of money that you spend on adverts does kind of directly compare with how much work you get in as well. With regards to the ad, what you can do with that is you can run a deal or an offer within the ad that's a coupon code. So if you've got a coupon code that you can add to the in the website, you can then they can take the coupon code from the ad and go through to the website. The one good thing in regards to that as well is that you have a direct way of tracking where they've come through from, because they've used the coupon code that's on the ad. That they're coming through from that ad. That's why whenever you look in magazines, for instance, there'd be like a £5 off with the magazine kind of thing. You see an advert in a magazine, £5 off, and the reason, or 5% off, for instance. And the reason they do that is so that they can basically track that's where, by spending that money on the magazine advert, they know that it's generating X amount of money because all these people have used this coupon, and it's just a cost of running that ad kind of thing. Fair.
Just as we were talking there, you're discussing people who are maybe too big for their boots, and I kind of have a question related to that. So, have you ever had to manage difficult personalities with clients, and how do you usually overcome that without pulling your hair out?
Never. I've never had a difficult client in my life. No, you get every the thing with the audio industry, and this is everybody, the audio industry and musicians are very unique people. There's a reason we all do audio, and we're not wired in the same way. as people who want to do a 9 to 5, and we're not.
Yeah.
We're very, very different. We're creatives, and our brains work very, very differently. So you get very, very unique people. And I'm choosing my words right there by saying unique. And like there's some people who just are, you know, they can have just a really weird expectation of what you can physically do, and it's like, you're not a magician. It's physically not possible. Your expectation is physically not possible based on what you're supplying. I mean, I've had people before who have said to me, "Why did you not tell me my song was rubbish?" It's like, it's not my job to tell you your song's rubbish. It's subjective. What I think's rubbish, you might think's brilliant. It's not my job to tell you that. If the people that you are showing your song to prior to sending it to me are blowing smoke up your that's the people that are supposed to be telling you, that your closest people to you, they're the people that are supposed to be telling you whether your song's rubbish or not. You know, it's so subjective, music, in the sense that, you know, what I like isn't necessarily what you like. You know, there are difficult people, and as you progress, you'll learn how to deal with certain difficult people. You know, there's certain people. I had a client who was halfway through a project, and he decided to go on holiday, and then tell us that it was our fault that he wasn't getting back to us quick enough. And it was just like, you're in another country, in another time zone now. This is you are the reason that the revisions aren't being done quickly, because you're physically 8 hours behind us, and when you send your revisions, we're asleep. Like, it's that time zone was, you know, it's and trying to get people to understand, and it's kind of like, you know, just trying to speak to people on a kind of level that they'll understand it. And sometimes they'll be like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I get what you're talking about now. I understand this. But sometimes they're just, no, I'm right. And we live in a very weird world now, where especially doing online services as well. It's you know, every it's not like there's no kind of, sometimes not any face to face with people. So, you know, and it's very hard as well. Sometimes it's getting, if you're just talking to someone through an email, for instance, portraying, getting what you want over to them without them feeling that maybe you're being, I don't know, passive aggressive, or just being, you know, getting your point across, but not in the right way, and that being that being actually read in the right way when it's delivered to them, and them taking it the right way. It's all things that you learn, and don't expect to learn it all in the first year or so. It's something that will take some time.
Yeah, it's something that I find, and it's not that I have too many, you know, challenges with it, but times where you need to, if I'm doing a mastering job and I need to return to the mix, or I feel that way, like trying to find a way to broach that with someone who may be set, because they may have mixed it themselves, and it's a sensitive topic. It's like for dance music, where I might need the kick isolated, and, you know, sometimes I find over texts, you know, egos can be brushed the wrong way, and that's kind of where I found pick up the phone. I've managed to get away with most of my points, you know.
Talking of egos, that's one thing where you say there egos could be brushed. With regards to that, is often there might be something that's wrong with the mix, but and you're doing the mastering of it, they don't want to know that you have an opinion on their mix, and they don't want to know. So it's a very difficult situation there, where, and it is subjective and opinionated in some ways. yeah, I've found that, you know, when we first started doing things, people didn't want to know. They don't want your opinion on how loud the snare should be, kind of thing. And that's why I have this mix evaluation service where if you want us to evaluate it before it comes to us, submit it. I'll listen to it. I'll tell you what I think, because then you know you actually you want me to tell you what I actually think. Whereas if it's just a song that comes through, you know, I will only kind of highlight something if it's a fundamental error with the mix that has to be changed. Or if they ask, if they say to me, have a listen to it beforehand. If there's anything you feel needs changing, let me know. Because people don't want to know.
Yeah, no, that's clever. Mix evaluation, sort of including that is a kind of a good idea, you know, as pre-production, you know, before you start getting to work.
Yeah.
That's a good way to kind of deal with that before you brush them up the wrong way halfway through the master.
That's it.
I've got one bonus question for you.
Go on, we got 2 minutes left.
We've just about, hopefully. So where do you think the direction of modern analog gear will go in 2023, 2024?
Modern analog gear. Well, it hasn't changed much for the last 20 odd years. So I don't really know where it will go. I think the inclusion of things like Betamaker, where you've got the USB kind of control. My only thing with that is, unless you're recalling everything, it's kind of like, well, if I've got to recall that piece, and that piece, I might as well just recall it all by hand. The best thing to look at is Session Recall. It's a really good piece of software to recall all your hardware. That's what I use, and it's really good. But yeah, I don't really see it changing too much because it's already, you know, I don't see how it can change. The only way it can change really is implementing the digital aspects of recall into analog hardware. But I think a lot of the time, what a lot of people love about the hardware is that you do have this piece that is a box that's totally disconnected from anything else. I can pick it up and take it anywhere and use it, and I'm not constrained by plugging it into a computer or doing anything like that. So I don't think it will change too much. I might be wrong, but I don't think it will change that much.
I suppose it's probably more the plug-in market incorporating all the AI stuff is probably like the next few years, but analog is all the sound, so it's not really. There's not going to be some new processor probably.
Yeah, AI is going to play a big part in things, and we'll see. It's one of them ones we'll see. We'll see where we go.
Perfect. I think that's all my questions. But listen, Paul, I really appreciate you taking the time. Hopefully, it's been interesting to anyone who's watching in a similar situation as me, and. I'm looking forward to seeing more videos you do with other people like myself. Nice one.
Yeah, nice. My pleasure. I always enjoy doing these sorts of videos. It's good to get, because the thing with it is not many people get to ask industry professionals these sorts of questions, and for them to be so open about answering them.
Exactly. Without getting an invoice, like I told you before.
I'll be sending that over later. I couldn't believe it when you told me that. But,
you better. That's the industry these days.
Yeah, that's how it works.